at times I feel like it would be so much nicer to go back to like a time like that. Even when we were just kids, it just things felt a lot simpler, a lot less scary. And then there's just and even our parents' generations and their generations have never experienced the stuff that's happening now with the acceleration of technology and the effects it's having on us. The fact that the more time we actually are spending, and this is something that back to that Joe Rogan episode that's is backed up by some scientific evidence. The more time that we spend on our phones, on behind computer screens and everything, the more that it's going to lead to further mental health issues and stuff like that, or even making it worse because of the blue screen and just what it does to your brain neurologically and chemically speaking. Because like with for like kids, for example, the younger they are, is you have to have a less screen time, because if you expose like a 1-year-old to a very large amount of screen time, whether it's cartoons or anything like that, it does actually change their brain, the neurological structure of their brain, their cognitive and language development and everything. And that's why we just like almost need to like find a balance, because of how quickly and how much long-term effect these instant gratifications and all this stuff that's going on with our society right now, and all these big companies, or even just like these big influencers and everything that's pushing like their own offset agenda or anything like that. It's just we're really starting to see the effects now, and it's definitely, it's a scary time to live in.
It's so unfortunate, man. And you know how common that is now. How like, and it's funny that you brought it. I just had like a flush of nostalgia, from whenever we were kids. Like,
Hmm.
I don't even think, I don't know, man. The flip phone might have came out when we were kids,
Yeah.
and like now it's like if I see a 6-year-old without a smartphone, it's kind of weird. Like
Yeah.
every little kid is playing video games on an iPad or something, watching their shows on the iPad in the back of the car. Like I, I didn't even have one of those TV screens that was attached to the back seat or anything, to
Same.
watch movies on road trips. It was just sitting in the car listening to music, and
Yeah.
it is just insane how much technology these kids have. And I don't know, it's I don't know if that Joe Rogan podcast went into it, but I think about this very thing very often. It's just I wonder how 23-year-olds in the 20s felt like as things were coming out, like when the first
Yeah.
cars started developing, or like they got the TV, got electricity, whenever World War I, World War II happened. Like, did it seem more or less intense than the stuff that we're seeing now going on, or is it all just relative? Because it seems
Yeah.
like the older I get, I become that old person that's like, oh, these kids are just messed up, and like they're just,
Same.
it's like weird, but the old people are just right all the time. Like they've been through the same thing we have, just in a different setting. It's very odd.
Yeah, I see that too, because there's a lot of times where like the reason why I don't have a TikTok account is because I feel too old for it. And it's fucking hilarious. I'm only 20, I'm only like 25. I'm
Yeah.
not really that old, but it's just it makes me feel old. And then like some of my coworkers are like 18, around the age, stuff like that. And it's just I will see differences between the generations and everything. So like I get those feelings a lot with the whole like feeling old, and then like I see them like say the same stuff or like act the same way that I have before, and it's kind of like seeing deja vu almost. But it's weird. It's weird seeing a lot of the stuff, but and then it's weird seeing how a lot of the things that like our parents talked about, for example, is right, or like right to an extent, and now we're seeing the impact and the results from it now. And
Yeah,
then
we're
like with
living it.
exactly, and with the fact that 6-year-olds are walking around with all the time with phones and tablets now, like how do you think how are we going to think that's going to affect their health, their physical health? They're going to be more interested being stuck at the screen for 6 8 hours plus, or as long as they can, versus actually going outside, like when we were kids, having to go outside and do things, be physical, and not having so much access to all this technology and everything. Because I feel like that's really gonna impact health and fitness in the long term. And like you were saying, how you feel like physical activity is getting kind of phased out. I feel like the more that we expose and technology to the younger generations and take out physical activity, the more we're going that route.
Yeah. And it's one of those that's one of those things that you would hope the human race would adapt to,
Mhm.
but it depends on your beliefs or whatever. But with natural selection, we just don't have that much of that anymore. Like maybe, you know, having the phones and having those negative effects will cause people to get so depressed they don't mate and further the population. And then the people that aren't as affected do mate. Like, I don't know how that's all going to go down. But um, yeah, what a terrible thing to have to adapt to. Like
Mhm.
it seems like it would be more fun to have to adapt to danger, like tigers chasing after you or needing to chase an animal to hunt it. Like that adaptation phase is like you getting stronger and like seeing
Yeah.
your kids get more able and stuff like that. But now, like, all we have to look forward to is our kids and grandkids like getting less depressed. Like that's just so sad. And
It is sad. Like literally over the pandemic, it was reported like 70 to 90% of Generation Z were depressed because of the pandemic and everything that's going on. And it's really sad. And they're all stuck behind screens. They're not having any chance to be physically active or socially interactive with everybody because I mean a lot of our social interactions going through high school, middle school and everything, probably if we didn't go through all those interactions and have those experiences, we wouldn't be the people we are now. And so independent and I'd say more like goal orientated with like improving and stuff like that.